Hello. Thanks for your patience, everybody, as I got a late start tonight. Good to see y'all in the chat early already, though, or you know what I mean. So, what was up with the Melania thing? That I see some of the chat. Yeah, I think she's definitely trying to get ahead of something. You really don't put together a press conference when when you don't know somebody or when you didn't have a relationship with somebody. It is quite weird. But let's start off with this real quick.
By their military, we had totally right. I'm not sure why we're all still having trouble with this. Let's try it again from the top. This is a victory for the U.S. because our goal from day one was for Iran to open the strait that didn't close till after we attacked, which was completely controlled by their military we had total dominance over. And it was a waterway that we could have taken over, but instead asked for help that we didn't need, but we'll remember that our allies did not give us, all because of the negotiating power of a FIFA Peace Prize recipient's threat to annihilate a civilization in order to liberate them from a regime that changed, which was not our goal, but we will take credit for, from an old man who hates us to his younger son who hates us for those reasons and that we killed his father. And while it is not clear the status of Iran's nuclear capabilities that we obliterated last year, but we're going to be a problem in 2 weeks, one thing is for sure. They now have more money and control of the strait than they had when they made the old deal that we ended because it was terrible. Now, I think that is enough about authoritarian propagandistic regimes. Does anybody have any questions about the Trump Library golden statue?
That shit made me laugh so hard. But and I just got one more starter before we get into it. This guy's asked if Trump still his daddy.
And second of all, do you still consider him daddy after yesterday?
Well, on the daddy thing, this is a language problem. What happened is the following. I have to explain to you, because it follows me a little bit. I can assure you. No, we had a sort of pre-summit meeting, the president and I, in June in The Hague. And he had been very angry that day with Iran and with Israel. This was in June last year. And in Dutch, you would say, hey, the translation of your father is daddy. And I would say, I said, hey, yeah, sometimes daddy has to be angry. So I was not calling him my daddy, but...
I was not calling him my daddy.
But of course, daddy has also a special connotation. And I now have to live with this the rest of my life.
Daddy also has a special connotation?
And I own it, and the president owns it, because he brought out T-shirts, he made a movie, Daddy is Home, and he returned to the United States. This was so funny.
What a psycho.
And this is why I like him so much.
What a lunatic. So yeah, I hadn't really watched this whole thing yet. I wanna see what she actually said, because I saw a couple clips of it and I watched the beginning of it. But I also have a whole bunch of different stuff, like some of the survivors reacting to it and another statement that she put out after the fact and some of the rumors that she's trying to get out ahead of something. But yeah, like, why do you call a press conference for this? Like, that seems like the only valid explanation.
Afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
See, this is wild because she didn't even try to like sandwich it with other things. You know what I mean? She didn't try to be like, oh, this, and this, and oh, by the way, I had nothing to do with Epstein. It's like this press conference is dedicated to me denying my relationship with Epstein.
The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties. as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear,
And she prepared this statement and everything. Like, something's going on. Something's coming out.
I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein
I think that was supposed to be trivial, but
did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998.
that seems to be different than both of the stories that I heard.
This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on
Fake images. I haven't seen any fake images.
social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize.
Yeah, she never heard of the guy.
And retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins UK. Now is the
I'll go through some of those stories too.
time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized.
That's a contradiction of what the Department of Justice has been saying too. Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi have said that Epstein has acted alone. Trump has said that Epstein has acted alone. That seems to be the official take of the U.S. government at this point. And apparently Trump didn't know about this, and he was allegedly pissed off, but we'll see some of that as well.
Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public
They already have, though. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
We thank you for watching.
It seems like something is there's some kind of maneuver happening there. Then she put out this statement after the fact. Yeah, I think that I think that she's trying to pull something shady with trying to bring them in there, because they have already been, most of them, interviewed by the FBI initially. That's what the files that they don't want to release are. Why she's trying to do it in front of Congress is very weird. Yeah, she just did that and left the room without questions, which is very strange. And oh, this is just a written version of what she wrote. Yeah, this is just a written version of what she wrote then. So here is even Fox News saying that Trump didn't know anything about this.
Out of left field for us here. This came out of left field for us here covering the White House. The press shop did not give us any insight into what this announcement would be about. That's typical. Oftentimes, the First Lady doesn't share a lot of details with the White House communications shop that covers the president on what her announcements might be. We didn't, for instance, get a lot of details ahead of her prior announcement on her efforts bringing home Ukrainian children. But similarly, we had no heads up on this. We're not getting any information from them now, including whether or not the president was aware she would be making this statement. It's unclear to us if she is reacting to something or that's already happened, already come out, or getting ahead of a story that might be about to drop. We don't really know. And
they're even saying that on Fox News. That's crazy.
Content of what she's calling for this congressional hearing to allow the victims to, openly testify about what they witnessed is new, and it will certainly breathe new life into this story that has, in large part, not been, at the top of the news cycle lately. The attention here has been on other matters. So this brings the sort of public interest back to the Epstein story.
Very, very strange.
Absolutely extraordinary. I have just been talking to colleagues here in the office. We can't think of a precedent for a First Lady making such a personal statement like this ever before. That was a live statement. You were playing it on a bit of a delay, but she made the statement live from the grand foyer in the White House. We knew that she was going to make a statement, but we had no idea what it would be about. And it was about, well, an elephant that has been in the room for quite some time. There have been rumors that have been circulating for quite some time about an alleged relationship or acquaintance between Melania Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She has decided to get out ahead of those and ahead of perhaps more that may come out. Some of what she said and the tone in which she said it suggested perhaps that she was getting ahead of stories that may yet be to emerge. And she wanted to make quite clear that she had absolutely no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. She said, "I am not Epstein's victim." She said that numerous fake images had been circulating. Be cautious, she said, about what you believe. These stories are completely false.
I'm just shocked that something is coming out, because I thought that the DOJ had shut it down and said nothing else was happening, at least until Trump got out of office, and then they would pull it back up. But I thought that Todd Blanche said that he was done. So this must be coming from the Epstein estate or somewhere else. Maybe Ghislaine Maxwell has run out of patience with trying to get a deal. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering where it's coming from. And wondering how much they have. Let's see. Got quite a few different clips here. Oops. I think I copied that wrong. Let's see.
We're not. And I'll just start by saying that this kind of press conference that the First Lady just had was pretty stunning for a variety of reasons. First is she is publicly calling for a hearing with survivors that we have been asking for months and have been told every time that it wasn't possible. Chairman Comer has not scheduled it. This is the same administration that has called this investigation a hoax. I mean, just a day ago, the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, said that the DOJ was not moving forward on any part of the Epstein investigation. This has been an investigation the White House has pushed aside. There have been efforts by survivors to meet with the White House, to meet with the DOJ. And so for the First Lady to come out and to essentially say that she is calling on this public hearing for survivors and to kind of put herself in the center of the story is something that we certainly were not expecting today, but we certainly welcome and agree with her call to hear directly from the survivors. And this pushes back against all efforts the White House has been making and really distances herself from the president and his public statements in trying to end this investigation and essentially calling it a hoax.
This is just so strange. I like, you know, I'm sure we're gonna see something soon, but it's just a crazy situation. Because you would imagine she was probably talking to Trump like, we need to do something about this, and he was probably like, no, I'm not talking about Epstein, and I got all this other shit. And she was probably like, I don't want people talking about me like this. So went out and had the press conference. It's my assumption. Oh, yeah. So Alex Jones and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are, I guess, on Trump's bad list now. So he's
done. But
he wrote a tweet about them, and let's see some of the response.
at the end of the day, I just feel sorry for him and pray that God touch his heart and soul and free him from the demonic influences that he's under. I mean, it's just that simple. This is a nightmare. We know the Democrats, the left, are absolutely terrible, but when Trump's calling for wiping out whole civilizations and acting like a supervillain, I have to come out and say I don't support it. It's that simple. So again, Trump's own wife came out at an unannounced press conference today and said the Epstein crimes are real and that she wants the victims to be in front of Congress and the cover up to end. That's the opposite of what Trump's saying. Looks to me like she's breaking with Trump because she knows the ship's sinking, has found out the truth. Elon left 8 months ago saying he's in the files as a cover up. I never saw any evidence of it, but he's acting like he's guilty. We know he's protecting Howard Lutnick, who said he didn't know Epstein didn't go to the island, and he did. So all I can say is this is a terrible day, and it's a nightmare for America and the world, but I'm going to tell the truth, reporting the facts, no matter what it is. It's done.
Oh, man. It's crazy people are still watching him at this point after he, like, totally, you know, I don't know how any of these guys that push Trump have any credibility at this point. So this was the article. Let's see. Oh, wait. Yeah. This is the email. Hi, G. How are you? Nice story about JE and NY Mag. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you are back in NY. Have a great time. This one isn't new. We read this when we were going through the files. Another email released in the Epstein file from a redacted sender to Epstein right after the 2016 election also mentioned Melania Trump's first meeting with Trump, suggesting that Epstein was a link. All I remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend I went to visit you in Florida was the weekend he met Melania, and he kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, "Wow, what a hot piece of ass," the unknown sender wrote. So this is the Epstein audio recording of him saying that he introduced Melania to Trump. Now, this isn't new. This has been out for a long time.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
So I need the dump. Just give me Donald.
First, it's fun. So you probably know he had a scalp reduction
The audio is not great.
because he had the same male pattern movement that we all have. He had his scalp movement, which is terrible. Donald's office, as you know, he made that call. He used to be on the phone as that fake PR person.
Mm.
I also find it funny. I was sitting there listening to the guys from the Post talk, and Donald would say, he's a great guy. I loved working with him. And I sit there going, this is just amazing. And he'd say, Michael, come on, let's go to the office. And he'd say, tell me, what's it like in there? He'd say, you like having sex with your wife? How often do you? He'd say, it's great. Seriously, Michael, how often do you have sex? I mean, don't you want to try? You and I can go upstairs, or tomorrow come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the Hawaiian Tropic Hawaiian. So come over 3 o'clock. You're going to have a great time. I promise you, Michael, it's just me and you. You're going to have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. The whole time, the attorney's been on the phone. Listening. Setting it up. Because he wants a story. So he has you on, because as an avoid conversation.
Unintelligible interference is correct.
He had a really speech. Come on, you must have had a better wife, right? I said, yes. Tell me about it. And the wife's on the speakerphone listening to Donald and said, I think you're really hot. And I know you think you're a guy. Michael is like the end of the world, the best guy on earth, you will be married to him. You're wrong. Just listen to the next 20 minutes. And go with the office, set you up.
That's weird. I feel like there was another one that I heard too from this same recording. There were a couple of other things too. Let's see. This might have been one of the emails that were in there. Yeah, this was the one that we just looked at. That was from the redacted sender. And then what's this one? This is a statement from the Epstein survivors. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein had already known extraordinary courage by coming forward, filing reports, and giving testimony. Asking more of them now is deflectionary of responsibility, not justice. First Lady Melania Trump is now shifting the burden onto survivors under politicized conditions that protect those with power. The Department of Justice, law enforcement, prosecutors, and the Trump administration, which has still not fully complied with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It also diverts attention away from Pam Bondi, who must serve for withheld files and exposure of survivors' identities. Those failures continue to put our lives at risk while shielding enablers. Survivors have done their part. Now it's time for those in power to do theirs. That's kind of what I was trying to articulate a minute ago, but I did a bad job of it. And these are the names of the survivors that signed it, including Maria Farmer, who I recognize, Liz Stein, Danielle Bensky, even Jane Doe has signed it. Juliet Rose Bryant has signed it. So yeah, that makes what is this other one where she's calling her Sweet Pea? Yeah. This is a email where Ghislaine Maxwell is calling Melania Sweet Pea. So, I mean, people do call people things, but you usually are kind of close to somebody. There are some people that call everybody certain things, is what I meant to say. But that sounds like a friendly greeting. So this is what Michael Wolff had to say, okay, he's talking about this book. He's also a creep, but
yesterday in the US and UK.
He was friends with all these people.
Entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. It's by a British journalist by the name of Andrew Loney.
This was a couple months ago, and she ended up suing over this.
And it's about the pathetic life of Prince Andrew, but it is also about his connection to Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and Melania Trump. And in fact, it contains a passage in which Epstein is quoted, and this is from an interview apparently in 2007, where he says that he had sex with Melania a full year before Donald Trump commenced his relationship with Melania.
Yeah, I hope Michael Wolff wins for sure in his legal battle against her, but he don't look good in those emails either at all.
Aaron, I mean, I'm told by a number of White House officials that they were just absolutely stunned, particularly by the timing of these remarks. In fact, it sparked rumors all across the White House campus that she was trying to get ahead of something that most people must not know about. That's the only way she would get out there and do this now. Now, I am told by people who are close to her that they were a little bit less surprised because in private, Melania Trump has been growing increasingly frustrated with the online chatter about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And she's never actually come out and flat out denied it. And she wanted an on the record denial. And I was told that even within the sources that are close to Melania Trump, who were talking to the team about this, there were some concerns about the timing of this, particularly the fact that this story had all but died down. The White House had spent months trying to get away from this narrative on Epstein. They've only been able to really do so in the last month and a half as we've been at war with Iran. So the timing would bring this all to the forefront. But some sources said that for Melania, this was in the forefront, that she'd been seeing this online chatter. She'd been seeing these stories circulating in various online news reports about her relationship with Epstein, much of it or most of it, all speculation, but that she wanted to have this denial. Now, of course, Donald Trump did a quick interview with MS Now in which he told a reporter he had no idea what she was going to say. A senior White House official told me that as well, although we do have one source in the West Wing saying Donald Trump was aware of these statements.
Wild. I'm interested to hear him be questioned about this for the first time. Apparently, this is a response from one of their survivors.
Nobody has done nothing.
This is Marina Lacerda.
But yet, you want to re-traumatize us and ask us to go in front of Congress and tell them our story, which we've had told some of them already. So now you want us to tell them again under oath and re-traumatize us and then do absolutely nothing. That sounds like a shitty idea. It sounds like you're just trying to shift attention from something to something else. So, how does this benefit the Trump family? Is my question.
Yeah, that it makes sense that they're trying to take attention away from the fact that the files aren't being released. Wild. Let's see what I got. So yeah, also there have been massive protests in Ireland today, and I don't know exactly what is going on with it. I've been seeing a couple of posts all over the place, but they have blocked roads, and they were talking about calling the army on people, and the army was like refusing orders to attack protesters. Let's take a look at that first. Try to get, yeah, like there's they're running out of fuel, I guess. Let's take a look. I think I'm gonna have to read the subtitles here.
The reference was made earlier to the
Oh no, okay, they're talking. Oh yeah, it's just Ireland. What am I thinking about? I'm just used to us being in the Middle East for the past month.
Army coming on the streets. Yeah. Has that inflamed people? Because we're seeing from the reports on the 9 o'clock news tonight that numbers are growing at some of these protests.
Well, my answer to the army coming on the streets is we have actually a bigger army. So we're not afraid of the army. We're agri-contractors, plant hire men. The army will not move this protest, and if any vehicle is touched on that protest, there'll be 10 more to replace it immediately. And that's how strong the people on the ground are on this, and it's unbelievable. I can't believe.
So what's your advice to protesters if the army try to move them?
I can't see it possible because the machines that are parked up cannot physically be removed.
All right, James Kagan, thanks for coming into us.
So yeah, people have parked their stuff all throughout the streets. I want to find more about. I have a couple of links where we could try to decipher it, but if anybody has any really good links on this, because this is just breaking today, or any good recommendations of people who are covering this. But look at this. Apparently, the cops are even running out of fuel. Oh, wow. Police cars are now running out of fuel across Ireland as anti-government protesters refuse to let officers refuel their vehicles. Policemen have been forced to push their cars off the road and call for backup. Wow. I am jealous.
Good enough for the cunt.
I am very jealous of Ireland at this point, because that is impressive. We just don't got game like that here. We just don't. It's and look at this. This is happening on the highways. They've stopped their tractors and like big trucks.
1:40 there now. PM. I think things are ramping up instead of calming down. Fair play to them all. Look at that for a turnout. Anyone that has a problem with that, you're the problem with this country.
That is incredible. Like, see some of a lot of them are tractors.
All the protesters now are after coming over to the other side of O'Connell Bridge. They were all the way over there. They're over here now, blocking off the bridge.
Why can't we get this organized here? We could shut everything down, man.
Oh, would you hate that? Be home, man. Simon Harris. If you watch this is your fault. Can't blame anyone else but yourselves. They still have over there blocked off as well. The other side of the bridge.
I don't understand why they don't have fuel though. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's because they're fighting back. But I don't know why they don't have fuel in the first place. Like, is it because I thought that they were fairly okay with that? I'm bringing up another see what other links I got. I guess this is the cops trying to disperse people.
And on conviction, you'll be liable to a fine of €1,000 or up to 6 months in prison. I would just urge you all to please peacefully remove yourselves from the area. Thank you. What do we think, lads? What do the people of Ireland say? No! We will not move! We will not move!
In a minute, I'm going to see if I could find any news reports on this. I couldn't before I came on because it was like just kind of popping off. But it might have by now. Let's see. Apparently, I'm seeing like 64% of the buses are either at standstill or have been canceled because the drivers have walked off their shift. Ireland fuel. Let's see. 16 minutes. Try to get something like a quick explanation here. So the prices hit like a crazy amount. Let's see what we got here.
Good evening. The impact of nationwide fuel protests are starting to bite, with reports of panic buying and queues at forecourts and a number of filling stations being forced to close across Munster. But protesters are continuing to blockade the country's only oil refinery at Whitegate in Cork, while Galway Port is also blocked for fuel deliveries. Sections of the M50 were brought to a standstill, with some commuters forced to walk on the hard shoulder to try to get to their destination. The business group IBEC is warning of imminent threats to supply chains, and retailers are also reporting empty shelves in some city centre stores. Well, Minister Helen McEntee has defended the decision to bring in the Defence Forces to help clear blockades, saying the protests have crossed into criminal behaviour.
The country is facing widespread disruption as fuel protests continue, with major roads blocked and shortages beginning to emerge. The impact is now deepening, with reports of fuel shortages and panic buying as protesters blockade key supply depots. The Army has been asked to help remove vehicles blocking critical infrastructure as protests continue for a third day.
We're all hard-working people here, self-employed. Our backs are to the wall, and we're being crucified with tax. And that's what the Taoiseach of the country is going doing, bringing out the Defence Forces to get rid of hard-working people. We're here because the tax on the fuel is gone to such a point that it's unaffordable to run a business now.
The decision to call in the Defence Forces has been met with mixed reaction, but Minister Helen McEntee says the measure is necessary following the blockading of fuel depots.
It's not something that happens very regularly. I think we all can see that. At the same time, that's not to say, we are in a very difficult situation at the moment, and we need to make sure that the day-to-day lives of those across our island, that the people of Ireland can get about their business, that they can access fuel, that they can access hospital appointments, that farmers can get their milk collected.
Long queue.
Yeah, the U.S. really has a ineffective way of protesting. It seems like in other countries they do it so much better.
Queues have been forming at forecourts around the country, with some stations capping the amount of fuel people can purchase. Farmers, hauliers and contractors say soaring fuel prices are threatening their livelihoods, but the government has condemned the blockades as unacceptable.
That some people have significantly escalated an already difficult situation by targeting critical infrastructure such as fuel depots and refineries. These are no longer protests, they are blockades.
The Defence Forces have been asked by An Garda Síochána to provide supports, and happy to do that. We've looked at the request, and the support that the Defence Forces will provide will be in the form of heavy lift recovery vehicles to a number of locations around the country. This is a unique capability that the Defence Forces has, and we'll provide that for as long as on.
Amid fears pumps could run dry, the disruption is having a knock-on effect, with IBEC warning of threats to critical supply chains and business operations if access is not restored. While Retail Ireland says some retailers are already reporting empty shelves in stores. Access to fuel depots remains heavily restricted, with trucks and tractors obstructing entrances, raising concerns over national fuel supplies. In Dublin, tractors have been parked on O'Connell Street, with disruption to public transport services reported, while parts of the M50 have been at a complete standstill.
We just do not want the government sailing off into the sunset and thinking that, oh no, we'll be all right, we'll get away with this, just give it time, it'll die down, it'll go away. This is not going away. This is no dress rehearsal. This is the real thing.
Protesters remain defiant, insisting they will not leave until government ministers meet with them. For now, disruption is expected to continue, with commuters being urged to plan ahead as pressure mounts to find a resolution. Aisling Roach, Virgin Media News.
Well, one of those pieces of key infrastructure is the oil.
So it seems like they were hit particularly bad by the prices and shortages, not just with the gas, but with all other products related to gas, including food.
Refinery in Whitegate in Cork currently under a blockade. Our Southern News correspondent Zara King.
And when I say all products related to gas, I mean like things that are delivered, which is pretty much everything.
Is there for us this evening and joins us now. So what's happening there right now, Zara?
Yes, Colette, well, we're just over 24 hours into the blockade here at Whitegate Refinery, and the impact is being felt certainly across Munster, if not more broadly across the country, and we'll get to that in a moment. But Colette, in terms of the protesters here today, they are resolute, they are determined to continue this blockade, but they're also very respectful, Colette, of the law, and they're conscious of the fact that there may be some developments in this. They woke up this morning, obviously, hearing those details about the Defence Forces being called in, and this afternoon, those protesters agreeing amongst themselves they do not want any confrontation with the Defence Forces should they arrive here at Whitegate. Let's just take a listen to what they've been saying this afternoon.
If they land here and they go blocking the road, or if they go pulling away trucks or anything, we're after deciding there with Independent Ireland, with Kent, that we're just going to stand across the road and fold our arms. And if they're going to start arresting people or doing whatever, then we're all going to just do a rolling protest out here, up to the middle of the roundabout and back again at a couple of kilometres an hour. I think that's the safest, most peaceful thing to do.
How did you feel when you heard the government were calling in the army?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm too worried about it. We'll see what happens. When they're here. Until then.
That's when you know you've had a successful protest, I think. Because that's like their last threat.
We'll worry about it when they get here, I suppose. And whenever we have to do then, look, there's only so much we can do. We'll obviously have to try and play ball with them as well. But at the same time, I think they should be supporting what we're doing, because we're not. Look, you can see there, everyone is happy and they're sitting down the grass, we're having the crack. Like, there's no drama.
But when you speak to the protesters here, they all come from various different backgrounds. You're talking about agricultural contractors, truck drivers, people working in construction, and they're incredibly upset about this. This is not just anger, but it is frustration as well, Colette. I mean, one man told us today that the government delaying any sort of decision on changing fuel prices is the difference between his business surviving and collapsing. And that is a sentiment echoed where there is also a blockade in Galway at Galway Port now, where our reporter Ashley Cushla has been speaking to protesters there.
Trucks and tractors.
Yeah, that pretending to be Canadian when you leave the country is usually a good idea, especially these days.
Lining the road at Galway Port for a third day. The depot here is significant as it supplies a number of petrol station chains across the west. Some of the protesters meeting with local elected representatives to see if any movement could be made.
their livelihoods are dependent on the cost of fuel. There's a lot of people here that could be out of business next month because of the way things are going, and that needs to be taken seriously.
These are good men and women fighting for their livelihoods. And the idea that the government are saying they were refusing to talk to them because they're not part of a representative or organisational body, those same TDs and ministers will have no problem engaging with with our citizens before the next general election. And we're calling for the government to talk to them today.
The protest is confined to the port area of Galway. Traffic in the rest of the city not affected.
Government are not immune to what they want. The government are very conscious of their needs, and the government are conscious of the needs of everybody who is suffering through this fuel crisis. And we've made some effort recently to try and, mediate the.
I'm seeing, let's see if it's in here. If not, I found it somewhere else. The Irish military has apparently been ordered to be unleashed on the protesters, and they're refusing orders. See that.
And this is a country, and we as a government protect the right for people to protest peacefully. It is something that we hold sacrosanct in this country, and it's something that needs to be protected. However, when you start to blockade fuel from actually getting out of depots, when you stop ambulances from getting through to hospitals, when you are stopping animal feed and produce that is needed to keep animals safe, when you have an animal welfare issue now emanating from this, there is a need to respond, and to respond effectively. The Defence Forces will always and can always, through their mechanisms, through the aid to civil power, provide that support. That request was asked this morning of the Defence Forces, and they have responded immediately, and they will, of course, through engagement with the Defence Forces, respond in the most appropriate way. But I would stress, and I think we all have to stress, there are genuine people there with genuine concerns, and we all understand that, and government is engaging with the representative associations to work with them and to make sure that people are supported and protected through a difficult time. But those involved in protests who are actively blocking and preventing people from accessing fuel, preventing animals from getting the support or the feed or the assistance that they need, stopping milk from being taken from farms, they have to stop this behaviour, because it is now crossing into criminal behaviour.
So the operation is a guarded operation, and they've, as you said, asked for support under the normal protocol of aid to the civil power. So the responsibility for the development of the power that the state is through the An Garda Síochána. The Defence Forces are there to support them in that role. So where we have capabilities that An Garda Síochána may not have, and they've asked for certain capabilities for this particular operation, and we'll provide them. I can't go into any details of where those operations are ongoing, but we will be in support of An Garda Síochána from today.
Minister, can I just ask here, as this runs on and into nighttime particularly, and stuff being spread on social media, that you could see violent exchanges on the streets?
Look, we see this happen, absolutely, and I think there is a concern that any type of large protest of this kind, that there would be those involved in it that don't have genuine concerns. And I again have to stress, there's so many people here that have genuine concerns, that are really worried about their businesses, their livelihoods, and we want to support them. But I would urge those who are involved in the protests, who are genuine, who are here because they want to engage with government, to please take care where there are those who are not included or involved for any other reason than to cause mischief and to cause trouble.
Yeah, last year I actually traveled to Canada right after Trump was starting all that shit with him. So like I could not even pretend at there, because they'll know, See what else I got here. But yeah, that's quite an interesting story, and it's crazy to see that things are already getting that bad in certain places, and that people are fighting back in that way. We can definitely learn a lot from Ireland and France in particular. Oh, I missed an Epstein story. I forgot about this. This is the Pam Bondi thing. We've learned that she is actively trying to get out of testifying, and that is the reason why she was fired.
On the House Oversight Committee threatening contempt of Congress charges against the newly fired Attorney General Pam Bondi if she does not testify about her handling of the Epstein files next week. The Justice Department tried to give her cover today, saying, quote, because Ms. Bondi no longer can testify in her official capacity as Attorney General, the department's position is that the subpoena no longer obligates her to appear next week. The top Democrat on that panel now threatening to hold her in contempt of Congress. And he may just get support from the Republicans on the committee, at least Representative Nancy Mace, who led the subpoena effort in the first place. Congresswoman Mace posting this today: Pambandi cannot escape accountability. The American people deserve answers, and we expect her to appear as soon as a new date is set. Lawmaker.
That one's going to get wild too. This was a story that I was not able to cover last night because I couldn't get through the paywall, and it was just an emerging story. But this is about how the Trump administration threatened the Pope.
Relationship with the Trump administration. There are conflicting reports from Vatican sources in the Pentagon over an unusual meeting that took place earlier this year. Marianne Ahern is here to explain why the Pentagon met with the Vatican officials in the first place. Marianne?
Media hack.
Marianne, shortly after Pope Leo's January speech to diplomats visiting the Vatican, Pentagon officials requested a meeting with those who represent the Pope in Washington, D.C. The disagreement today: what was the tone and the message? In January, Pope Leo spoke of the importance of international humanitarian law when he addressed the diplomatic corps.
War is back in vogue, and a zeal for war is spreading.
Shortly after that speech, a meeting was requested by the Pentagon with Vatican officials based in Washington, D.C. That's highly unusual. As first reported by the Free Press, the Pentagon offered, quote, a bitter lecture warning that the United States has the military power to do whatever it wants and that the church had better take its side. A Vatican source.
That's wild. I mean, that is the American attitude, but it was never really said out loud before, at least not in the past, 75 years or something like that. Usually that stuff is said more quietly and couched in the language of humanitarianism,
Also tells NBC5 the meeting was most unpleasant and confrontational. Today, photos from the meeting were released by the War Department on social media. And a Pentagon official says, quote, the Free Press's characterization of the meeting is highly exaggerated and distorted. The meeting between Pentagon and Vatican officials was a respectful and reasonable discussion.
What? This was put out by the Free... Isn't that Barry Weiss's thing? They published this? That's weird.
We have nothing but the highest regard and welcome continued dialogue with the Holy See. Pope Leo has openly criticized President Trump.
I'm told that President Trump recently stated that he would like to end the war. Hopefully he's looking for an off-ramp.
The Chicago-born Pope has also been critical of the Trump administration's handling of the immigration crisis, as well as U.S. actions in Venezuela and Iran.
I would invite the citizens of all the countries involved to contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always.
And one more voice adding to this controversy, Vatican Ambassador Brian Birch, he is also from the Chicago suburbs, appointed by President Trump, posted on social media today that some journalists and online agitators are, quote, choosing to exploit a routine meeting to sow division. Marianne,
thank you.
So yeah, that is, I mean, it isn't the dynamic with American Catholics and Catholics in like South America and places like Ireland is like completely different religions. It's wild because they are much more of like a not like liberation theology, but like they actually somewhat preach the teachings of Jesus, the peace and love stuff, not the evangelical authoritarianism, essentially. So it is interesting. It's like the whole JD Vance versus the Pope thing shows those two different kind of perspectives. But yeah, it's totally unhinged, this administration. But it is good to see I do think it gives kind of a powerful argument against what the administration is doing, because there are so many people that are Trump fanatics that are religious, and they are going to be torn between America's president and God's president. I know they don't call him God's president, but you could kind of pitch it that way. It's be like, hey, are you going to listen to Trump, or are you the president of America? Or are you going to listen to God's president? So I'm gonna definitely be keeping an eye on that. I've been meaning to share this one for days, but this guy, we've been following this squirrely dude, this Tim Burchett. He's this congressman. He's one of these people who are covering for Trump on the Epstein files, acting like he's concerned about it, but then also blocking it and saying that Trump has nothing to do with it, essentially, while also saying that he's really trying to get to the bottom of it. And then all of the sudden, as soon as the Epstein stuff started happening, he started really, really going hard on the alien stuff. Now, I do think that the government knows more about extraterrestrial life than what they know. But I also think that this is kind of strategic and calculated to some extent. I think they're trying to throw as much shit as they can out there to get people talking about other things. But let's just see what he has to say.
You see, now I guess it would be about 2 weeks ago. That was very alarming, the way you said that, at least.
Yeah, well, because of the circumstances and where it was, I can't get into too much specifics, but it was elaborating on some stuff that we'd asked for, and it was important to get this person in a secure setting to where we could ask him these questions. And there's somebody in the meeting with us, one of my colleagues, I guess you'd say, was basically there just to kind of upset the apple cart and to throw, a monkey wrench into the deal. And every time a question was asked by this particular party, it was really the answers were out there, and they gave them, and they gave specifics, they gave addresses, they gave times and dates and people that were in the meeting. And this went all the way up to the executive branch of previous presidents, not this current president.
So there have been different reports over the years. Some reports that there have been pieces of machinery that were found that did not seem earthly. And then there have been reports about life that is not earthly. Which one of those two, or both, are you talking about? A form of life that is not earthly, or just something mechanical that's not earthly?
I'd say you'd be safe to say both.
The way you described this, whatever happened at this meeting, this briefing that was happening, was there something that if we knew, we would feel that we are in danger? You said you wouldn't sleep at night if you knew the things that I saw in these briefings.
Yeah,
should we believe that? That's the part where it seemed alarming.
I don't think we're at danger of this. I mean, if these things exist as I think they do, they could have destroyed us with a blink of an eye. I just don't see that, and I think that's. I just think, but I do think they have the technology and the capabilities of something that we can't understand or we can't grasp.
What I want to make sure I'm understanding is a member of our government has told you and others, I guess, that there is a form of alien life and machinery which maybe brought this living creature here that interacted in some form with people?
Yeah, they have, and they've. It's pretty wild. I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take a lie to you. You won't put me on a polygraph, I'll take it. But this is what the guy told me. I mean, I've had a very high-ranking naval official describe, I've talked about this before, underwater craft, something big as a football field, moving at over 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish in the ocean that would do that. We don't even have a sub that'll probably do 40 miles an hour under the. And the last thing he said before he left my office was, it was kind of weird because he didn't go out he went out the side door, which nobody ever uses. And
Oh yeah, he's hardcore MAGA. He's definitely one of the Trump people. And that's why I don't trust his timing with this.
he looked at me, pulled me up close, he said, "Tim, they're real." And that's the last thing he said to me. That'll be the title of my book, I guess. Matt Gaetz was involved in something here just recently. He was interviewed and he talked about this interbreeding thing with
we saw that. We saw that.
Well, that's a true story. That was military personnel. I think that would be a good story to talk to him about if y'all can do that.
Right. He says he learned that from someone in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a guy, it was an officer in uniform.
Yeah.
And Matt and I and Representative Luna, we all went down to Florida, and we were turned away. And then Matt made a phone call to somebody at the Pentagon, and all of a sudden they opened the doors and brought the pilots in that were supposed to tell us the story in the first place. And he can probably elaborate a little bit more on that. But that was pretty fantastic. That was a made for TV special right there in itself.
Yeah, I just wanted to watch that. I've been saving it for days and I haven't watched it yet. He is he is an idiot, and I also believe him, and I also think that he is purposely talking about this to distract people right now, to get the news on other shit. But I do believe that these politicians have they know stuff at least about hidden technology and these kind of classified things, obviously. Maybe some things that are called alien that haven't been, but I don't rule out the extraterrestrial thing entirely. I should have brought this up earlier, but this is a new Epstein thing that I found. A little bit all over the place tonight. But this shows where all the money was flowing from these banks that did business with Epstein. And these different trusts. And then these are the shell banks, shell entities, operators, and recipients. You got Leon Black, Deborah Black, Ghislaine Maxwell. All these people. Millions of dollars. It's a pretty interesting chart. Oh, thanks for joining us, Javier. This is the link. Pretty cool. Should have shared that earlier, but also had something else as well. Oh yeah. There's apparently supposed to be May Day stuff happening next month. And Fox News has published this scary propaganda piece about it. I want to look through it because it might be funny. Inside Antifa-linked groups plan to structurally change the U.S.
We're a youth-led climate justice org.
Why not? Let's see. What?
A story in...
Nope. They're really trying to push that video. Former rep... Oh, wait. They took me to another page. Obtain slides outline goals including Green New Deal legislation and dismantling the billionaire two-party system. Well, that sounds just horrible, doesn't it?
We're Sunrise Movement. We're a youth-led climate justice org. Right now, we're focused on just fighting authoritarianism. It's kind of hard to pass climate policy in a crumbling democracy.
Let's see what it says. Slides. Here's the slides. See what they find so threatening. To make dictators impossible and give working people a chance, we need to structurally change the foundations of this country. To get the majority of the society out in the streets and an explosion of voting, we need to repolarize society. They got a lot of charts here. Stop Trump's grip on power, mass strikes. They're not even like, they're just talking about strikes and protests, and they act like they're planning to fire, to like fire weapons at the Capitol or some shit. But I think May Day protests that involve, I mean, strikes need to go longer than one day, but I like that energy a little bit more than No Kings. I appreciate No Kings as well, but I see this as a little bit more of a focused kind of thing. I might get out for that. We'll see where it's happening. I'm only like 2 hours away from DC, so maybe I'll check it out. And then this one, did you see the employee? Yeah, they always do something for May Day, but apparently this year is going to be big. Did you see the guy that burned down the warehouse that he worked at? And he like posted some TikTok and said like you should have posted Instagram, saying you may not pay us enough to fucking live, but these bitches are dirt cheap. There goes your inventory. All you had to do was pay enough for us to live. Nobody was hurt, luckily.
Should have paid us enough to fucking live. You know, we may not get paid enough to fucking live, but these bitches dirt cheap. All you had to do was pay us enough to live. All you had to do was pay us enough to fucking live. All you had to do was pay us enough to live.
That's wild, Joe. And at first, I thought that this was in Canada because it says Ontario, but it's Ontario, California. There's a place in California called Ontario. Because I was like, that don't make sense. I don't see a Canadian doing this, and they have like healthcare and stuff. They're not under this. I don't think they're under the same kind of pressure that we are necessarily. But I do think that we're gonna see, we're gonna increasingly see wild shit like this happen. And yeah, of course, like it's like I personally wouldn't do this because I have things, I have a lot to lose, and but we are pushing people in society where people are going to start doing drastic shit, and I think that we should move away from that kind of volatile situation by trying to get people's needs met in some kind of way, because there has even been situations where these this week, like city council members had like their house shot. Somebody fired shots at their house and then left a note saying, you better not approve that data center. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, Indianapolis councilman says shots fired at his house and a no data centers note left on his doorstep. A city commission voted last week to allow rezoning, well, that was a bad read, for the data center in council member Ron Gibson's district. He has publicly backed the project. Yeah, I mean, like, we are a society that is pushing people to increasing levels of desperation. And I hope that we can roll that back. They could be agent provocateurs, but I think and it also could be like he's mad about threats that he's getting on Twitter, or he's mad about people surrounding his house or something. So he kind of did a little false flag on himself. That could always be a thing. But I do really think that the root of this is our society is a pressure cooker, you know? And I feel like it's been happening over the past couple of years, where we've been seeing an increase of just people doing really, really desperate shit, or things that are like, where you could tell that they've lost all hope, you know what I mean? And that's the root of the drug issue too. And the overdoses and stuff like that. And that's why, you know, I don't think that putting people in cages is the solution for that. The solution for that is to get at the root of the thing of why people are so miserable and why people have a death wish, you know? Yeah, it is not a good note to leave on, probably. I wish I had something more positive. Actually, I've been, as you know, I switched my schedule a little bit this week. Fridays and Saturdays are now maybes, and Sundays I'm probably not going to really do. And with my free time, I've been making more of these deep dive videos, which people have been enjoying. This one did pretty good. I had some help with that from the community. Homie wanted to remain anonymous for now. And I did these two, which I think I needed to improve my thumbnail game. Somebody told me that I should put my face on the thumbnail, but I was thinking, like, I'm a nobody. Like, I shouldn't, I don't, I'm not ready for that yet. I need to wait till I get more subscribers or whatever. But they said, like, if I recognize your stuff, I'll click it. So I'm thinking maybe if the people that are already subscribed, if they recognize it, they'll be more likely to click on it than some random shit. And then maybe it'll boost in the algorithm to more people. Because here I tried to clout ride Hassan and put his face on there, and it didn't even really work that well. I thought that was a sure hack. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm really enjoying learning how to edit videos and having a lot of fun with that. And I want to put more time into actually like these organized videos, so people can so I can express myself better. Because when I'm on here live, I go through the news and I react to it and stuff like that, but I'm not always the most articulate like I can be when I'm a little bit more planned and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a very good point, Jason. But yeah, definitely check out some of these videos if you haven't yet. Really proud of the stuff I have coming out. I have another few videos that are going to be quite interesting. I have one I know is going to be pretty controversial next week. So that'll be good. Yeah, I think because of the fact that it sends out to just my oh, good to see you in here, Solar. Yeah, I like the meme thumbnails. I do them for the live streams a lot. Because a lot of times I steal them from places. Yeah, you know, if I just did a clips channel for him, I'd probably make bank on that shit. Those people like it's pretty cool that he lets people do that. Just like copy his content and put it on YouTube and then make money on it. Oh yeah, the hype button thing. If we're going to try to do some organization to direct people into hyping particular videos, which is like this new feature in YouTube on the mobile app where they allow you to like, I guess it's kind of like a extra like or something like that boosts the video. So I'm going to try to like organize that a little bit more. But yeah, that would be an interesting mashup of audience, Daniel. But yeah, much love to you all. If you are up for a while tonight, check out some of the other videos that you haven't checked out yet. And I will probably almost definitely be back tomorrow. Catch you later, everyone. Peace. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos. And if you have the ability and want to contribute, take a look at my Patreon, where you can find a subscription to my books and a bunch of other cool stuff, like the ability to send links in chat and access to closed rooms in our Discord server.